So, welcome to our dental Zoom camp that we've been having all day. For those of you that have just joined us, and we have invited our DenVantage members and some of you that aren't DenVantage members to introduce something very, very exciting, which is called our Dental Freedom Academy. Dental Freedom Academy, and I love this guy sitting back with his money here.
I was
You
thinking
know?
Kevin looks so good there counting all his cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Meg.
Hi.
Wave, Meg. So Meg is our contact person for DenVantage, and she's the one that's been sending out the emails. And we just thank you so much, Meg. We're really, really excited about this because Eric, this has been like the craziest year for people asking to resign from insurance, hasn't it?
I've never helped more offices at once in 1 year. Sorry, I've never helped more offices in a single year resign from restrictive insurance plans,
It
PPO
is
plans.
incredible.
It's been incredible, which
Incredible.
I love because people are asking for it, right?
Exactly. So I have a question for everybody. And most of you have been on insurance at some point. Maybe you're not now. Maybe you want to get off, whatever. But those of you that are participating, I want to ask you if you know, and you don't have to respond out loud. And if you don't know the answer to this, I want you to go find out. How many days in 2021 did you work for free because of your insurance adjustments? So that's your homework. If you don't know, that's step one. I want you to go figure out how many days in 2021 did you work for free because of insurance adjustments. So, Eric, how would they figure that? How would they know?
So, do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah,
Okay.
let me stop.
All right. Let me show you guys. You go to Disney World. That's what you do. So, let's see. So what you do, you guys see that okay? See how it looks
Yes.
here. Yeah, okay, great. Pretty simple is you go in and you figure out all your plans that you're participating with compared to the number of active patients you have. And you figure out how many plans you have in each one of these, how many patients you have in each one of these plans. That will give you a percentage. Uh-oh, dun, dun, dun. Talk about that Delta, Missouri letter that went out. Look,
Yeah.
Aetna sent out a letter a year ago saying we're going to lower your fees, right? We're going to lower your fees. You're in network. This is the funny thing about signing up with a plan. You think, oh man, my fees are so good. I got in this network and they were only 10% behind my normal fee. And then you find out, oh, we're lowering them. Oh yeah, you were slammed into this other plan. They just started adding other people to it. And that's not where you want to be. That's not a good place for you. So what we do is we help you figure out what percentage of, we teach you how to do this is in your office, in your plans. And then we plug those in. If you figure, okay, Aetna is 2.5% of my practice. Okay. Then I go in here and I put in Aetna and I put in what my fee is for the top 20 fees and what insurance is. And I figure out what my average cost is. I figure out my frequency for things. And then I slowly start to build, okay, what does this insurance cost me per year? I've only put in like 6 fees and you see what this insurance costs per year to have as an example. So if you put in a plan and it looks great, awesome, good job. But typically you put in something that is a plan that has a much lower fee than this and you have any frequency to it, you're going to see a high cost. And then you're going to see other plans. You go, I have one patient in this plan. Why am I participating in this plan? This makes no sense. And you'll see how to resign. So
There you go.
that's the first step is figuring out, do I have a problem and how big is the problem? Right?
Yeah, for sure. So, Eric, I think, there's a lot of frustration over this. There's a lot of fear over this, and people feel like, well, gosh, if 41% of my practice is Delta, then I can't drop it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I like to see is looking at your practice statistics. How many uninsured patients do you have? How many uninsured patients do you have? The average in the United States is 72 to 75%. 72 to 75% of the patients we see are insured.
Insured, yes. You have about
Insured.
25% cash pay. Yep.
And that, to me, that's dangerous. So that's another homework piece, is you need to know how many days you work for free. Okay? And then you also need to know what percent of patients in your practice are insured and uninsured. Okay? And we want to shift that number. We want no more than 50% insured. We want to attract more uninsured patients to our practice. How in the world do we do that?
Well, we call it insulating. You have to insulate your practice from the damage that's going to occur. There's going to be atrophy when you resign from insurance plan. The key thing to remember, though, is that if you're writing off 40% for an insurance plan, you can afford to lose 40% of those patients.
Talk about it, Eric. Keep
because
going.
the 60% who stay are paying 40% more. Mm-hmm. So now if you've got 50 patients to your whole practice, that's a different problem. But most practices have a significant number of patients, at least 800, 4 days a week of hygiene. That's where you got to get to. So how do you got to do your research to figure out, well, all of these things go first. We have 6 phases that we take you through to create insulators. And to create more cash paying patients is a part of that insulation. And that's where your in-office membership plan really comes into the picture.
Now let's talk about that, because on the call right now we have some of the owners and founders of DenVantage. So we've got Dr. Kevin Devine. Dr. Kevin Devine, raise your hand, wave to us. And let's see, Dr. Ted Morgan over here, raise your hand. Yes, and Dr. Dan Stanky, who's on the phone, and I think Dr. Peer is in a course. And then we also have Meg. Meg, raise your hand again, who is actually with the nuts and bolts of how DenVantage works. You know, Eric, a lot of people are nervous about dropping a plan because they think their patients are going to leave. One of the conversations we need to have with them is they could be losing money on their dental plan.
The patient
yeah,
can
the
be
patient
paying for it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how do you have that conversation with a patient that they're losing money on their dental plan?
Well, pretty simple. I ask them if they know, first of all. Yeah, I'd be curious to know. Tell me about your plan. How much do you pay per month for your insurance plan? Some people won't even know, so I'll give them an amount. Some people know if they have a solo plan where it's not a benefit in their insurance, they'll go, oh yeah, I pay $50 a month for it, or $60 a month. Oh wow, so you're at $720 a year or $600 a year to get $1,000 of benefits, right? Or you're paying $600 to get, I don't know, $300 worth of hygiene visits covered. Your 2 free cleanings you're talking about, you're paying $700 for. I go through that conversation with them. I say, you know what? There actually is a less expensive option for you at only $30 a month right here in our office.
Yeah, there you go. And I've had doctors do a breakdown on this.
You can show them the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Ted, tell us, what do you say to your patients about it? I mean, you've been using DenVantage for, this started in your practice back in 2011 or so, right?
Actually, before then, 2011 is when DenVantage started, but we were developing the plan for a few years before that. And going back further, we had a hygiene-only plan, so it goes way back.
Yeah, for sure. And what have you discovered about the uninsured patient, and how do you attract them? How does this work for you with no insurance? You have no insurance plans in your practice.
Well, we never did have much. Well, I'll take back. We had only Delta when we had it. I was way back. It was a big percentage. And, there was the straw that broke the camel's back when we found out that a big case that we were doing had to be done on Delta fees, even though Delta was paying $1,000 on a $25,000 case. I said, okay, that's it. And that happens. I don't know what the contracts read now because it's been so long. But so we had to, we didn't lose very many Delta patients. What we lost much more dramatically was new Delta patients, because they go to the preferred provider list, or they call up Delta and Delta says, oh, you want to go, that routine. So we had to start much more active marketing to get our new patients to replace the new patients we used to get from Delta. And so that's just part of our deal. We have, I think 8% of gross is our marketing budget. And in addition to that, what's more important, far more important, is internal marketing through the level of service that you give patients to make them rave about you.
5-star service.
Yeah, the problem I've seen with offices that rely more on insurance is they're trying to run at a lower cost, and so they act much more like, the medical office where you go, walk in and who's your insurance? That's that kind of greeting. It's always very impersonal. It's, what group number, that kind of stuff. Where's your card? And we greet our patients by name, and it's a simple thing, but especially during COVID, it's become so unusual to walk into any kind of business or professional office and be greeted by name. It's the whole way you treat people in the office. You take the time with them, and you do what you'd like somebody else to do for you. Treat them like a person. And when the conversation comes up finally about the cost, in terms of an uninsured patient, we always give them the full fee, and then we say, would you like to hear about a way to save some money on that?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And there's no selling of DenVantage going on, because who doesn't want to save money? They think there's a catch or something. No, we just want to offer you DenVantage, and you get, you tell them what they get, two free hygiene visits a year, or they could buy, opt for more. And by becoming a loyal patient, they deserve to get a better fee. And by not having to take all the time and all the expense of filling out insurance forms and filing claims, that's very expensive. And we let them know, they're earning their savings. This isn't an arbitrary discount. They're earned savings by having no insurance forms to file, by promising, signing that they are going to keep their appointments and they're going to keep their balance at zero. They're always going to prepay. That saves us money that we just pass on to them.
That's awesome. Page 103 and 104 in your manual has a handout that kind of gives you some benefits to the patient of why you're not on their plan when they ask you those questions. And this is a great introductory verbal skill right here. Have you heard all the talk about health insurance in the news? Many things are changing, including dental plans. Premiums are going higher, benefits are going lower. Are you getting your money's worth? Here's a notice we're giving all of our patients. And these are some of the cuts that insurance companies have cut out of the benefits of the plan. So you can use something like that if you want. There's some tools in here in this section. So, Ted, one of the things you told me that really got my attention was that a DenVantage patient, a membership plan patient, is worth how many PPO patients?
And they're worth approximately four PPO patients. Actually, what we did, where this came from, is we looked back, and we took 6-month periods, and we compared 3 groups of patients. Okay, one group had DenVantage, one group had insurance, and one group had no insurance and no DenVantage. And we found, we did this for different periods of time, and the results varied from the DenVantage patients had 4 times as much dentistry accepted and done as the insurance patients. And the same goes for the uninsured patients with no DenVantage. That it was 4 times as much. Those two other groups were about the same, insured or uninsured without DenVantage. The DenVantage group had 4x, 3x, 2.5x, depending on which period of time we looked at. And when you think about it, if somebody comes in that needs a large treatment plan, and they're going to get $1,500 insurance benefit, but if they go with DenVantage because it's a big plan, they're going to save $4,000. Well, it's a no-brainer. And so even insured patients will sometimes say, "Well, skip the insurance. Let's go with DenVantage." Yeah,
absolutely. So how? I want to ask another question that needs to be part of your plan for resigning from insurance. Is your team on board? And Eric, you and I see this all the time. If you've got an approval addicted team, which we've been talking about in this Zoom camp, they're thinking, oh my goodness, maybe the doctor's on board because the doctor's seeing what the write-offs are, and maybe the office manager, but the team is freaking out. So Eric, what do we do with that?
Well, again, it goes back to approval addiction and showing people how easy it is. And here's the concept, really easy. We get mixed up with medical insurance when we say in-network or out-of-network. And so as team members, we allow ourselves to get caught up in that. We should have never used the same terminology that medical insurance uses, because when a medically insured patient calls an office, a physician's office, and finds out that they're not in network, that means I can't even go there. There's no benefits whatsoever. Whereas in dental insurance, 95% of the insurance plans are open network. They have in-network and out-of-network benefits. So you have to understand that when you resign from insurances, the patient's still going to get benefits. You have to first get over that hump. Now, that's just being an out-of-network provider. So going from PPO to out-of-network is one thing. Now, what Ted's also talking about is going from out-of-network to fee-for-service. That would be maybe your second phase that you go through. That's what you're trying to get to. But the first step is just getting over the first speed bump and saying, okay, you mean I charge $100 for a cleaning, and when I'm in network, they pay me $60 and patient pays $0. But when I'm out of network, insurance pays $100 and the patient pays $0. Why am I in network? That's the first thing you got to run through. Once you get that phase done, then you can go to like where Ted is, and you can start going to, okay, well, now our fee is too low, or fee for service, or those sorts of things. You can get, more a next level. But the first part for teams is get through the first hump of saying 95% of the time, it's not that big of a deal. They're used to paying a copay. They're used to paying that share of the costs. A lot of the offices, team members on here are insurance free from a lot of things. I know we've helped some of these offices resign from insurance as well.
So one of the things I hear all the time is, Ted, you and I have talked about this, and Kevin, I'd love to hear your feedback, and Meg and Dave Peer, if that's you on here. Okay, it's easy sell membership plan to my existing patients, but but then I'm adjusting off. I mean, this patient's going to come to me anyway, and I'm adjusting off this fee now, and why would I want to do that? And then the other thing that I hear, part two of this, that I want to address this with the experts in the room here, is we're not bringing in any new patients on the membership plan. The only new patients that are coming in are insurance patients. So how do we address the fact that here's an existing patient that would stay anyway, whether I'm offering them a membership plan or not, and how do I bring in new patients on this plan so that I can shift that 75% insured to more 50% insured, or 40% or 30% insured, by bringing in new patients on the plan? So who would like to address that? Meg, Kevin, Ted?
I think Dave's on here too, but
yeah. Who wants to go first with that? Because those are the questions and objections we get a lot. Kevin, would you like to share? You need to unmute.
Sure. I think the new patient thing is just marketing, and it's just using your membership plan in your marketing. You know,
Well, how would you do that though? Because what I get is, well, I'm going to get them in on a membership plan, and then they're going to cancel their card, and then I'm going to lose money.
well, that goes to everything else that you talk about and you and Eric teach, is that, you know, if you get the patient in the door, we find they're not going to leave because we treat them so well. And it's so easy, I think, in this day and age, because nobody treats people well anymore. So the competition is not out there if you treat people well. So you get them in, you treat them well, they trust you, you build that trust, they're going to stay with you. So that's not a concern, I think, if your practice is running well.
Okay.
You market to people that don't have insurance. People that don't have insurance think they can't go to the dentist. So you use those things, I think.
Like,
as far
so like a Google ad or something like that would be like, no dental insurance, no problem, or call us before you sign, and maybe have an initiation fee or registration fee of $100, $200, and they get the special as long as they sign up on the membership plan. And this is how you attract new patients, right?
Sure, any of that. I mean, you can have, if you've got the ability to do it, you can have people come in for a consultation to talk to them about it. You know, if your whole team is trained, it doesn't take doctor or clinical time away to have a patient come in and have a 5, 10 minute, 15-minute conversation with them about your treatment, about your membership plan.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ways to do that. The more common objection, I think, that we get and we hear from dentists and dental teams is, this is a discount plan, and I can't write off all this dentistry.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Tell me about that.
And I'll let the others talk to this too, but it's not just it's not a discount plan at all.
Okay.
You're writing off a whole lot more if you're in a PPO. You're writing off more if you're just using their insurance. As Ted mentioned, on a large case, you know, the patients, it's costing them a lot more. They save more on this. You're still getting paid. We have this week in the practice, it happens every day. We have large cases that we present, and the people with insurance say, well, what's my maximum? People have DenVantage say, okay, great. You know, when they go through and do the whole thing, it's not like, well, okay, I'll do 1 crown this year. So what is it if you're writing off, you know, it depends on, you set this up in your program, but if you write off 5%, 10% of a fee, and the patient goes through and does a $4,000, $10,000 treatment plan instead of $1,000, I'll write that 10% off every day.
You know what else? You just reminded me, Kevin, of patient retention. Studies have shown that automatic payments increase retention and loyalty. People do not like getting a bill from the dentist.
I mean, we can go on and spend the rest of your day talking about the advantages of a membership plan, because it's patient retention, it's getting people to attach to your practice, or they don't easily go someplace else. It's getting people not to cancel. We have it set up in the program where there's a penalty if they cancel. They sign that when they come in.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Sign the plan. And they don't cancel. So you don't have that problem. You don't have the problem of billing. People are paying at the appointment, paying on time. We could go on and on and on of all the benefits of having a membership.
Less bottleneck at the front because, you know, they're already paid. You know, I'm a member in my office. I love it. I love just, it's already done. It fits in my budget. I asked my eye doctor if he would let me do a membership plan there, because it's a chunk of change when I go in. And he looked at me like, what? You know? But I really like it. I mean, I'm doing it myself, so I'm speaking for that.
Paula, real quick.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, just on what you're saying, Kevin, Paula, I also see clients who try to create their own plan, and they are business poor. It's a bad business makeup. They didn't develop the model so that it doesn't cost them too much. You know, it's like it was like $199 a year plan, and the hygiene, to cover the hygiene visit, and they were given like 20% off of the dentistry. I was like, oh my gosh, this is this is way out of whack. This is not a win for you. How are you doing this? Why would you do this? And what they did was they looked at their PPO plans they were in and went, that's about the same as that. It's like giving them a PPO insurance. Like that was a good deal too. And you got to understand that's not a good deal for you. This is set up so that it's a win-win for the patient and the practice.
Exactly. So
One more thing, Paula, and I'll give it over to somebody else and shut up. But,
no, this is good. That's good.
This just came up this past week that there's some practices that'll get a membership plan, and whether it's DenVantage or their own, and they fail because they only sign up 5, 10, 20 people, and they're afraid to sign up any more. For a membership plan to work, you have to sign up a lot of people. And I can tell you that Ted's practice, Dan's practice, Dave's practice, a lot of our member practices have over 500 members in it. Dave's practice is closing in on 1,000 members in his membership plan. Now, do you think he's losing money? I don't think so.
Meg?
He actually has over 1,000.
Oh,
okay.
broke through.
Oh, competition here. Ted's like, oh, wait a
All
second.
right.
Oh.
Wow. So
The big thing for Dave kind of talking about getting out of insurances is he used his membership plan as an alternative for patients when they were talking about leaving the practice. So it's actually working for another one of our offices really well.
Yeah.
So having that thing to offer someone else, it does work, and it does help keep your patients in the practice.
So if you're going to drop a plan, we really need to have this set up before you do that, right?
I would.
I agree. I think that's one of the first things we need to do.
That's why it's in phase one. It's got to be something that you
Right.
have already set in place, that you have this option to offer, and we start moving people through it.
Yeah.
And I love what Kevin's saying. You've got to get new patients in. No insurance, no problem. Use your marketing plan to get these uninsured patients in. And like Ted said, they're going to be doing more dentistry. They're not going to be a part of the Crown of Year Club.
And so when you market and you start bringing in more uninsured patients, it helps if you do resign from a plan and you do lose some people, you're replacing them. And it helps the balance right there. So let me ask. What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if we could back up a minute to how do we get those patients, uninsured patients, and the marketing. And I was thinking about that. Most of our new patients come into the office for some issue. They'll come in for an emergency, or they want to know about implants, or they want to know about replacing teeth. And we market heavily to all those things. And, we do a free consultation. It's just a brief, oh, you have a big cavity there,
Yeah.
But it's very brief. And then we talk to them about, what it would take to do it and what it might cost. And we have a way for you to save money. And so in that initial visit, we can hook them up with DenVantage. And when we do, we've turned that emergency into a loyal patient, because now they've committed to our practice for a full year at least.
Yes.
And that's huge.
Yes.
And in terms, you asked me before, how many DenVantage patients or uninsured patients, how many PPO patients would that replace? And I said a number of 2.5 or 3 or 4 to 1, but that's compared to full fee patients.
Yeah.
So if you compare those to PPO patients where you're writing off 40%, that one fee for service patient might be worth 20. I mean, it's a hard number to even compute, but if you've got a 40% write-off and a 70% overhead, and you're losing money,
No brainer, right, Dr. Netzley?
Yeah. Why not close the office and
I have
go
a
home?
question. I have a question because I want to cover some logistics. I want to cover monthly payment versus annual. I want to cover verbal skills and biggest mistakes. So Meg, maybe you're the one to answer this. Give me some pros and cons of the annual payment versus monthly payment.
Oh, so we actually really recommend the monthly versus the annual. I know it's tempting to want to get all that money right up front, but the great thing about the monthly payments is it's much more easily manageable for a lot of people. And that's what they're looking for, especially these days where money is probably a little bit tight here and there. Having the option of paying for it monthly rather than annual could be what gets that patient to A, sign up, and B, stay with you. So it's really good at making that patient for lack of a better term, grateful. Because if they're grateful, they're much more likely to be loyal, which is nice.
There you go.
The other advantage of monthly is it just keeps running, and
That's what I was going to say, Ted.
the annual every year you got to resell it again, and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
going to be $300 or $400 or whatever, and
They don't have it. Yeah, they don't have it. Then they're going to delay their hygiene appointment. They're going to reschedule because they know they want to sign up for that. Just do like the gym memberships do, please.
Yeah.
You have a $30 or less gym membership, and nobody feels bad about not going when they pay $30 a month. That's why I keep my gym membership, but I never go.
There you go. So let's talk about the biggest mistakes. Okay. So a lot of people want, in fact, I was in a discussion this morning. Oh my goodness. And Eric, I shared some of that with you. But the biggest mistakes that people make, and I actually saw this going on this morning, is they want to resign before they have a plan.
Yeah. They get frustrated. They get frustrated and go, that's it. I'm done. Send a letter. We're out.
Yeah. And that's another mistake is they send that letter. So this conversation this morning was, hey, does anybody have a copy of a letter that I can send my patients because I'm dropping Delta?
No.
And I'm like, no, wait, please. In fact, this particular conversation I was in, oh my gosh. Yeah. So this one practice was saying they were sending out a letter to patients along with the Delta letter saying that Delta was lowering their fee. And Delta sent the practice a cease and desist letter.
Whoops.
And there's another doctor in this call, one of the DenVantage partners, that actually received one of those cease and desist letters because you don't want to send out this information because Delta is...
They're mean. Just talk to them. And to clarify, Paula's conversation was online in a group of people on social media that got it out of control. Please stop trying to find help on social media for how to run your business and through a message. Talk to people, be in communication. This group, I'm not talking to this group. I'm talking to people who are probably going to watch this recording. You guys are here because you're doing the right things. So this group is built to support those people, to say, look at us. We did it. It's really good on the other side. It's so much easier. It's so much easier. I helped a client 2 years ago resign from, so many plans. And he's like, he's not producing as much, as inflated number. He's still super busy and he's collecting more than he ever has before.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I see this over and over and over.
Yeah.
And there's so much fear, but please don't resign until you have a plan and have a plan before you pull the trigger. Don't send a letter to your patients. Have verbal conversations with them for 6 months. You got to plan ahead.
That's right. It's a long game. It's
and
a
the
marathon.
verbal skills on the phone. Do you take Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Oh no, we dropped them, Paula. We don't take them.
That's an
Friction.
automatic invitation to hang up the phone.
That's friction. You're creating friction that doesn't need to exist. You can see these patients in open network plan. Oh yeah, Paula, we have a lot of patients who come here with that same insurance.
Exactly. That's the thing to say. And I get this team members like, well, we want to be very clear with them that we're not a network because we don't want the big argument. And they come like, well, you misled me. You can say it another way. So let's, the fourth mistake is don't do this alone. And you're right, Eric. I see doctors who are in their 30s, 40s, and they're talking to other doctors their own age in their own groups who have not done this before. You don't have years and years of experience. The partners that we have on the call right now have a lot of experience. So let's go back to the manual for a minute, and we're going to turn to page just to get up. There's several verbal skills in here that I want you to see. But
we got the wizard too as well.
Oh yeah, let's. Why don't we go to that, Eric? Why don't you pull that up?
Okay.
Do you have it open?
Yeah.
And let's just go through that for a minute of how to know if you're ready. And this was in the email that went out through DenVantage. So some of you have probably seen this, but I think this is a really good thing to cover. So why don't you go ahead and pull that up?
Yeah, a lot of people can't even get 12 new patients a month in their schedule, let alone that are not insurance dependent. So this is a trick question. And what I would challenge you with and help you with your insulators, like we talked about before, we were talking about exam typing, Ted, before you got on here. So why are you making patients wait, but yet you tell me you want to grow and want to see new patients? You can't have both. So figure out a way to get to a healthy number of new patients. And how do you market to the right ones, right? How do you know why you keep, I had a client he was Delta PPO at the time. He's no longer. And I said, you're not going to take any more Delta new patients. That's the first step you're going to do. He's like, we're not going to see new patients then. I said, let's see what happens. Not only did he keep seeing 15 new patients a month, but none of them were Delta. What was happening was the Delta, we just filled the void with something else, something healthier. So you can make the right changes as long as you manage it well. So you can go through these, right? Talking about AR being healthy. Here's a percentage. Is the percentage of your patient base who are on a PPO plan less than 1/3 of your active patient base? If typically this is a hard part. And the reason this number is important is when we help you resign, we don't want to deal with a whole bunch of your practice leaving the practice if that were to happen. I've never seen it. And if you have a lot of your practice that is over that third, we don't deal with it all at the same time. We deal it in phases. What else, Paula? Here's a membership plan. Profitable is the key word. Right?
Yeah.
We see this all the time where people are losing money on their own self-made membership plan because it's built on percentage. Oh, you get 20% off all the doctor's treatment. And it's like half the cost of the hygiene visits a year. You can't do it that way. It won't work. This is case acceptance that Paula and I teach.
We just got
Obviously,
through,
yep.
that's been our whole day today.
That's been what we've been talking about. Have you killed your approval addiction? That's what we've been talking about day one. Are you comfortable communicating copays? I think a lot of times people are afraid to be out of network because they're afraid to talk money, and it's approval addiction.
That's right.
So we'll work on that with you, and your patients pay in full, right? How do you do this part? So this is a conversation to talk about. I don't think that's a make or break. I think you can go either way on this, but we can help with this depending on what way you want to go.
Got to look at your accounts receivable too.
Yep.
See what's happening there.
Right.
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah.
And this is Dan. One of the things that is important as you talk about like case acceptance is how many of our practices that are listening have all these patients that come in just every once in a while. They skip their hygiene appointments and then they come in when they have a toothache. And that is so common in so many practices, but that's an opportunity for DenVantage because you can tell the patient, hey, you have this, you need a root canal today. You're going to have a savings on the root canal today, but plus, I know you've been missing your appointments because you come up to the appointment and you can't afford it at that time. Why don't you consider DenVantage so that you don't have to worry about coming up with money when you come to your hygiene appointment? And it makes an emergency patient and every once in a while patient a great patient.
That's awesome.
So true. I 2 weeks ago I was presenting in Orlando. There were 21 offices there. There were 200 people in the room. But the day before we presented, I did 2 days. What Paul and I do, I did it for 2 days with them. But the day before we went golfing, and we were playing shotgun, and I got paired up with the father-in-law of one of the other consultants that was there. His name's Tom. And I was explaining to him what this was. He's like, how come my dentist doesn't offer a membership plan? I said, you should call him and ask him, ask for that. Are you having patients call you? This is what's going to happen. You're going to start having new patients call you who don't have insurance, say, yeah, do you guys offer a membership plan? Your existing patients are going to say, do you offer a membership plan? It's going to happen. It's coming.
I'm pulling up.
And also many new patients come in to us because their friends have DenVantage. So they say, hey, my friend said this is awesome, and so that's a way to generate new patients just from internal marketing.
And it leads to small businesses who can't offer benefits but could offer DenVantage. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going.
So I'm pulling up Dave Pierce's website of how he does it, and DenVantage is very flexible with this. But Dan, while you're still on the line, would you share a bit of your story about dropping Delta and what happened there and how you succeeded? Did he go back on mute?
I think he went bye-bye.
Okay,
He's in the
Kevin?
Matrix
Am I
somewhere.
still there? Am
Oh,
I
there
there?
you are.
Yeah,
Now you
yeah.
are.
All right, back. So we had DenVantage at the time, so we had that option for people. But my front desk, my financial guy, was saying, came to me one day and said, Dan, with Delta, with how they're regulating fees, every time you do a third molar surgery, taking out 4 third molars, you're giving away one of them. I go, what? Are you joking me? I'm giving away a quarter of everything I do that I have to write off because of Delta. So we really started looking into it because I was dumb, fat, and happy. And until he brought that to my mind. And then we started looking into it. Oh my gosh, look how much we're giving away. And so I went out and I sent a letter out. And what I did, what they objected to, and because we're a major Delta provider in our area, a major Delta provider in a rural area. And so they had their tentacles out. So I sent out a letter, and before I even sent it out, I think it got to be, I got a call from the major from New England because they got wind that I was going to get done. But anyway, then I sent it out and I said, Delta Dental now is a PPO all the time, and I said they're not a regular insurance company anymore, and that's when they got on me, and I had a call from the president, and we are not a PPO. Yes, you are. Look at how how you regulate fees, and so we had a few go arounds and tassels, but the bottom line on this is we lost almost nobody because we still accept their insurance. We still get paid by Delta. It's just we set our fee and the patient pays the balance. And just like Paula said, patients are used to paying a copay. So, even if they left for a little while, they came back because it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't enough to leave.
Another thing we did, Dan, when you had an associate join the practice who happened to be Kevin, they wanted to lower your fee schedule because you brought another doctor in.
Exactly. Even though Kevin was a premier provider in Illinois, when he moved to Maine, they wanted to make me demand me to be a lower PPO provider. That's right.
It's insane. Yeah, and so what we started doing with your team is we worked a lot on the verbal skills. They did a great job with the verbal skills on the phone, and we tracked. Eric has a great tracker for the calls coming in. I highly suggest you do this. Count how many new patient calls come in, count how many actually schedule, and why they didn't. And your team started tracking that very closely. And they did a great job converting that new patient phone call to an appointment, even though they were not on the plan. So those are the biggest questions we get. Why don't we open it up? We got about 15 minutes left here. And I know people have questions. And I know there's a doctor on the call that messaged me yesterday that said she had a lot of questions. So if you can open your mic and ask questions. Meg is great with the logistics of like how this works, and she handles all of the credit cards. It's the patient Meg, you say it. The patient goes online and sets up their information, right?
Yep. So it's all an online process. The contract's online. They get set up with an automatic payment, which they can do either annually or monthly. Most will pick the monthly, but what we do is we're kind of the middleman here. So we collect that money so that your office doesn't have to worry about it. So that way we're the ones tracking and making sure the payments are going through, if the payments declined, things along those lines. So we try to take as much of the burden of actually managing this plan off you as we can.
Wow, that's great. So the practice does not store any credit card information.
Correct.
Okay. And then if a payment doesn't go through, you're handling that, or what are you doing?
Yep. So I'll reach out to the patient first. A lot of times though, and we actually encourage this, so it's okay. The patient will think it's actually your office's plan. They'll think, hey, I signed up there. It's their plan. I'm going to call them, which is fine. So when I call from DenVantage, they're like, who are you? And that happens sometimes. But in those cases, if I can't get through to the patient, I might ask your office for some help, just saying, hey, Meg's going to be calling, please answer, or like call her back or something. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's ask, open it up for questions that you have to ask us. So shoot fire, and hopefully our panel here will be able to answer your questions. So who's got one? I know you're probably nervous about this. It's kind of crazy. Dr. Daff, do you want? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Paula. One of my questions is we are or have been in the process of becoming distanced from the insurance companies over the last few months. I've been working with Paula, and we're down to Altus and Delta of Mass, and I'm ready to just take the final, leap of faith.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the questions I had was, I think Eric answered one of them, where he said that first you just start with collecting the copay. And I guess my question relates to that was, how did y'all in the beginning start to collect those copays? Do you take your most recent fee profiles, so we know how much Altus and Delta is going to reimburse for the cleaning visit, and then do you just collect that difference then? Is that always the amount that they're going to owe, or how did y'all work that in the beginning, especially when they're coming in for the first little bit of time? I'm not worried so much about the visits after that, because we can probably pre-authorize and find out if we had to, but I just, that was one of my questions.
Okay.
So here's the thing. In Maine, up in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, New England, Delta, and in Florida, the check for Delta will still go to the patient, the practice. Everywhere else
Same in Mass.
Same in Mass? Okay, good. That's a huge win for you, because then you could be out of network, but then the check comes to you, it's going to be a much lower rate, and you're going to have to collect that copay difference. Yeah, you just tell the patient, Paula's the patient, Paula, when you come in for your visit next time, here's what you can expect to be your estimated portion, and you're going to ask for that copay. That's your first step to get over the first part of the hump. They're still insured, they're still coming to practice, but they're paying out of a UCR office fee schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, so just basically use the fee profiles that I've requested, the most recent ones, and
it's
we
tough.
can start with that.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't know what they're going to pay, and it's by group. You're going to estimate. And so the first time through, you might have some olive branches that you work through that we'll take care of that. We didn't realize that, might have to do that. But in 6 months, you know exactly what's going to be covered. And you tell them, so next time, here's what you can plan on. They're happy to work with you on it. Right.
And then something else I heard was about, right now we have a busyness problem. We're way too busy. And is there a way to not take any new insurance patients, or that's probably not a good idea? What do you think?
Well, once you've resigned from all insurances, they all become equally great. It's hard to say, but if you were in network and stuck, then you'd say, okay, yeah, no more. I mean, I see office with Medicaid, no more Delta PPO, no more. This plan sucks. We're not taking patients from that plan. You can do that, but in your case, once you're out from all of them, they all become valuable. If you're that busy, your next step becomes fee for service. That's the next part of this, like what Ted was talking about.
And I think that's where you're headed. You've got the kind of practice that would happen. I've had teams that will start budgeting which plans they will start taking patients from. Like, okay, we're only going to take 10 Delta new a month. And once we reach 10, we're going to put them in another month or something like that. So you can budget what you take. If you want to do that kind of thing, it takes some tracking and your team on the same page to be able to do that, but it's definitely a possibility.
I guess I was a little concerned with that sheet you had as far as the number of insured patients, because I know that we're definitely, had probably originally about, 40%, 60%. Probably normal for what a lot of people would have.
Yeah, we see 45 to 50% Delta.
Yeah, and we did start our own membership program. I'm good friends with Dan's daughter, so I had a little insight as to how that was set up. So I think ours is set up, decently. But I think hearing what you all talked about, it might be something that we, might decide to outsource. That's going to be part of our overall plan. And I know Paul and I have a talk in a week or so. So I have a lot of things to go there. But I'll share with the group that at the end of the year, we wrote off $400,000 in insurance fees. So we worked for free for 2 months.
Oh, 2 months. Yeah.
2 months.
Bless you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, when you look at the big picture like that and then divide up what do we produce monthly and then how much did I work for free? I mean, it's shocking. And you share that with the team, you know, like
We did. Oh, I shared that at my all-day staff meeting, and you know, some of them are still talking about it, and they're more than anxious to get on board because we've talked a lot about why we're moving in that direction, and some of it's out of necessity, but a lot of them understand the philosophy behind what they provide every day. And when they
awesome.
heard that they worked for free for 2 months, it didn't make them very happy because we have a bonus system in our office that was $400,000 that, you know, part of that
Affected
was
them.
theirs.
There
Absolutely.
you go. I mean, Ted and I have talked several times about the myth of the empty chair. I mean, I had a practice that was 50% write off, and they had
Sheesh.
some Medicaid in there. And I kept telling them, "You're working 6 months for free. How do you feel about that?" And the team was like, "Yeah, well, he gets really nervous because he's afraid nobody's going to come in. He'd rather have a patient and write it off for free than have nobody in the chair." And I'm like, "Okay."
I was working, so no longer working with this client, of course, because I showed him the PPO write-off calculator. He's seeing Medicaid. He's in Connecticut, and $400,000 a year because of Medicaid provider. And there's like 800 patients in the practice. I said, "So what do you want to do?" And I got word that I was pressuring him. You know, there's no pressure from me. You know, here's the numbers. The numbers speak loudly. But really, what it was about is that fear.
Yeah.
I can't go through this right now. That's really what it was about. I have an existing client in Utah, and upper doctor really wants to be out there free, but he's seen it work so well in these corporate places. So he wants all his associates to be in network. I'm like, well, when they see the hygienist, what's going to happen? It's like, you got to be in or out. You can't be both. And it's really a mentality because I'll probably be ready in a year, you know? So never a better time than right now. And
It's a big
more and
fear
more
factor.
offices are doing it. So what,
Yeah.
what do you have to lose? If everybody around you is doing it, I helped an office, endodontist up north in Minnesota, and their specialists can only be PPO with Delta. Right now they have a higher PPO rate, but they can't be premier. And he's a specialist, and he's an endodontist. I go, "Why are you in network?" There's one other endodontist. He's right by Mayo Clinic. There's one other endodontist in town, and they're at a network. I go, "What are you doing?" I showed him the numbers. I was like, "Look, this is going to be for his practice. They're going to grow like $600,000 just by removing Delta, by being out of network. That's just the write-off. That's the write-off amount they're going to grow." So,
Yeah.
awesome.
And you know, in some states, and I know Dr. Daff, you told me this a couple of years ago, Delta lowered your fees, what, 8% or something?
Yeah, I believe it was 8%, and then I don't know, they supposedly gave us a 1% increase, like effective in 2022.
Yeah. And then in some other states, people are getting letters right now that unless they are exclusive with Delta, they're going to lower their fees like 20-25%. Unless
It seems
they're-
like that's, yeah, it to me, it seems like the insurance companies are just, you know, buying time. You can almost see where it's going as, you know, different states are doing different things, and it's only a matter of time. And I know a lot of people are just dropping Cigna. That's a big one that just reduced fees in our area. We had dropped them on February 1st, but I know that there's many in my area. We lost 5 providers in a 2-mile radius of my practice. And, you know, I know one other dentist who just texted me about that, and he's going to be, you know, dropping that. I said, we're dropping them all. And no one's going to be able to take care of the amount of people who might be looking for a, like, you know, the in-network provider, because there's going to be less of them.
And that's, you know, there's another community in North Carolina that none of the dentists are providers, and it's a sweet deal. It's a sweet deal. So, you know, that's a really good place to be when you work together with your community and you talk about this. All right, thanks so much for your questions. I'm sure those helped somebody else. Who else has a question or comment about this? Success story, logistical question? We want to hear from you. Verbal skills are important. Don't say no. We're not on your plan. Don't say that first.
Yeah. So let's just talk to offices who are out of network right now, who get this question.
Yep.
Hey, do you take my insurance? Yes, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Again, my name is Eric. Who had the pleasure of speaking with. We worked on this on day 1 of the phone call. Then you come back to it. You build some rapport and relationship with them. You connect with them. You come back to say, you know, earlier, Paula, you asked me about your insurance. If we take your insurance, tell me about your insurance plan. They say, I don't know. What would you say, Paula?
Yeah, I just know that, they take out $50 of my check every month,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, I just want to make sure
Who's it
I'm,
through? Is it through your employer?
yeah.
Oh, who's your employer?
I work for Oak Ridge Labs.
Oh, we have several patients who come here who have that same insurance. I'd be happy
Really?
to help you out with that. Yeah. Yeah. What's great about your plan is you have an open network plan, meaning you get to choose whatever dentist you go to. And it's not like medical insurance, in network, out of network. Don't get confused with that lingo. Okay. So we'd be happy to take care of your insurance for you when you come in, and we'll let you know what your copay is when you come in. We file your claim for you electronically. And this is where you can divvy depending on your practice. You can say, and the check comes here, the check comes to you. This is where you divvy it up, right? You say, and so we'll let you know ahead of time what your portion would be of that. And that way there's no surprises on your end. And maybe at the end you say, and you know what? They call us an out-of-network provider, but I just want you to know it's really the same. It really operates the same. You have 100% coverage or whatever it is. You can
Awesome.
start adding to it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Now you can look at page 100 in your manual, and there's some of these verbal skills here. That's exactly what we want to do. Is we want to find out. Look, many of our patients choose to come here even though we may not be on the list. That's a great thing to say because it follows the law of the herd, right, Eric?
That's right.
People
That's
want
right.
to follow the crowd.
We have a
Oh,
lot of patients who have that.
yeah, and they choose to stay there. Wow, that's pretty awesome. And you can collect some stories, some testimonials from patients who left and came back. I bet all of you have patients who left and came back. So those are really good things to do. Any other questions or verbal skills that you use that really, really work that you've experienced in your practice? Want to hear from you, Kevin?
I just wanted to make a comment and appreciation for Lisa for sharing that with us because, she showed that she worked for 2 months for free. When you ask that question, how many officers out there are working how many days for free? Everybody's going to say none. I don't work for free until they do the math. And I know a lot of dentists. I was guilty of this early on before Paula whipped me in shape. But you don't want to look at the statistics because they're not going to be good.
Yeah.
So, and team members sometimes are afraid to come to the doctor and say, this is what we wrote off this month. Because they know the doctor's going to be upset. But if you don't look at that and do the math, you think, I'm not working for free.
For sure.
So thanks to Lisa.
Paula?
Yes.
Well, and in closing for us, this is Dan, that if you're going to eliminate these insurance plans and get DenVantage membership plan, that it's important to have somebody like Paula and Eric. You need to track, and you've heard for the people on the webinar that are not with Paul and Eric, that this is critically important that the team be trained and the team have the right verbal skills, or you can lay flat on your face. That's a critical part. It all comes together when all the components are together.
Yeah, exactly. And Eric and I have it's about a six phases. Eric, is that right?
Yeah.
And going through this process. Thank you, Dan. Of going through this process with your team. Now, if you're not a client of ours already, and most everyone on here is, maybe one or two. If you're not a client already, we have a special offer of a $5.95 1-hour consultation with you to do some research and just kind of investigate, is this right for you? So if you want that, contact Meg. Meg, how do they contact you?
You can either call or email. I can have, what's the best way to get it out, Paula? Have you email it to the attendees, or I can just say it now? It's fine.
Yeah,
too.
go ahead and just.
Okay, so the phone number is going to be 207-266-8434. Or if you want to email, it's Meg, MEG, at DenVantage.com. So D as in dog, EN as in Nancy, V as in Victor, ANTAGE.com. So 207-266-8434 or Meg at DenVantage.com.
And you will do a demonstration of how this works and all the logistics and all of that, right, Meg?
Yeah, for the DenVantage part, for sure, yeah.
Okay, very good.
I want to say something.
Eric?
There are other membership plan companies out there. None of them are owned by multiple dentists who would come onto a program and tell you how it worked in their practice.
Yeah.
I want to thank all 4 doctors for being here and showing that you're willing to look, it works. Here's how it works. And literally speak from your own experience, not some finance director, some bankrolled billionaire who started a company because he thought it'd be a good investment. This is something that the people on that run, this is why I love DenVantage so much, because it's people that run it that actually use it, and they're just like us.
And they all have active practices going on right now, you know?
That's right.
So this is fantastic. So any other questions on this before we go? We thank everyone for joining for the hour. And any other questions before we finish the subject? Okay.
All right.
Very good. All right. So you're welcome to stay on for the rest here. We've just got about an hour left where we're going to do some wrap up and talk about the aha moments for the day and any questions that we had from the day itself. And then I will be emailing you. So thank you, Meg. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Dave
Thank
and
you,
Kevin
guys.
and Dan. And Dan, you've been with us all day on the phone. So great stuff. So
Master.
yes, the masters. I just have to say, these guys, they were mentors to me when I was a team member. So they're not new to this at all. They've been doing this for a long time.
So you're saying we're really old.
I'm old now. Hey, Ted, I'm old now, so you know what that means.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not too far behind you, Ted. So I've been doing this quite a while. You know, I got a late start. Finally found my passion.
That picture of me over there, that still pic, that's like from when we met. That's like 22 years ago. Look at that thing.
I know. And guess what movie, Kevin and Ted, and Dave, guess what movie we're watching tonight?
Groundhog Day.
Oh, a couple days late, Groundhog Day.
City Slickers.
Oh, City Slickers.
Oh, City Slickers. Okay. Yeah.
Remember
Use
from-
clips from that.
Little
Yeah.
inside joke here from Masters days.
Masters, yeah. That's
Yeah,
good stuff.
we actually got the DVD. We're going to watch that tonight. It's going to be fun. Back from when we talked about that. Okay, so let's do some wrap up. I want to hear from the team for the last time that we have here together. Or Eric, is there anything you wanted to make sure we covered before we wrap up today?
No, I love this to turn into a mastermind where people are saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm succeeding in this. I'm looking for help in this. How can we support you?" And let some other people